Hello and welcome to the STUK on Self-Love podcast. STUK Designs is a successful nonprofit for girls and a clothing brand run by young women from around the world. At STUK Designs, we believe in self-love first because self-love is the dawn that marks the beginning of all the different kinds of loves and because it undoubtedly sustains success. This podcast shines light on strong and talented women who excel and persevere in life while bathing in abundant self-love. So if you're ready to keep it real, level up in all your inner work, creative business, and community impact, then you've come to the right place because we provide you with content that helps your soul glow and your mind grow. Thank you for pressing play. Let's dive in.
All right, welcome back to the STUK on Self-Love podcast. Tazina's here, but I'm kind of hosting today.
Yes, we love it.
And yeah, we have a full team episode, which I'm really excited about. I have missed all of us being able to be present in an episode. So if you're listening versus watching on YouTube today, it's me, Tazina and Madeline here. And today we're going to talk about how we manage shifts, stay grounded, and connect with others during these chaotic times. And I feel like we've kind of said during these chaotic times since like 2020.
It's been a while.
Yeah, or during these unprecedented times. But I mean, the world is a chaotic place. So whenever, whatever time and space you're listening to this in, I'm sure chaos is probably still happening in the world. But there are many ways in which we can ground and just stay present, in our work, in our purpose, in our service during these times. And so we made a list, per se, of things that we do as a team to stay grounded, centered, and focused during these times. So and the list is of 17 things that we do, 17 self-love practices. And so I'm gonna start with 17 and go up to 1. And then we're going to kind of elaborate on each thing as a team. But before we get started, I wanted to pull a card from the Self-Love First Affirmation deck, STUK Affirmation deck. So let's see what card we have for today. Okay, so today is kind of perfect because it is your word is your wand.
Fun.
Yeah. And I often say like that, words are spells, words are powerful, and really, yeah, like your words can create realities. Just as thoughts are important, what you think, what you say, it's all connected, it matters. And so I think that we have to remind ourselves, especially on days like this is a self-love Sunday, actually, that if we're feeding ourselves like positive words of self-love, if we're feeding each other positive words, then we're expanding, I feel like we're aiding in human consciousness, we're expanding, self-love for other people. So, just remind yourselves today that your word is your wand and your words are powerful. Your voice matters. And so that's a pretty powerful part for today, I think. And so let's get started with this list. All right. So self-love things that we do to stay grounded during such times as this, absolute chaos, in war times, dark ages such as this. So, okay, so let's start with number 17. We have unplugging unplugging in life, basically, like unplugging when we're in the midst of doing big behind the scenes projects. I feel like unplugging when you feel overwhelmed with social media. And Madeline was actually just talking about in our call before this, social media too, and kind of, your own relationship with it. But I think that's been on a lot of our minds during this time. So let's dive into this number 17, unplugging.
At least for me with social media and kind of like healing my aversion to it, a huge part of that has been unplugging in a way where I'm doing small things throughout the day where I like fill my life with gratitude. I'll take a walk, like, and the leaves are so beautiful right now in the Midwest, and like feeling the breeze. And instead of like completely unplugging, I'll take like little videos of things here and there, of moments that make me feel like really alive and really beautiful. And then when I am able to show up on social media after that unplugging, like, it's like adding things that are a normal day-to-day thing for me, and showing that I don't need like huge events in my life or like huge accomplishments to like post all the time. It's these little things.
Yeah, and then it's so interesting because when you do, because I do that too, and like if I'm unplugged for like a day or two or whatever, like, and then I just, I go to the park, and in the present moment I'm taking like really gorgeous pictures and just like, and but also really enjoying, myself in that moment. I think that then once you do share those images, once you do share those videos, then they have more power behind them because like you were actually present in the moment that you were capturing them. So
exactly.
And then it changes like how you're almost like perceived on social media, because I think that that's what is really lacking. Like, people are forgetting to live real lives, like, because they're so entangled in a social media perception. And it's almost like, because I feel like in a way I almost got into the habit for a while of just like, all right, I have to like literally sharing everything, or like feeling like, oh my God, I have to, share this, or, I'm capturing this to share it, or something good happens and I absolutely have to share it. But also lately, what I've been doing is like, I have moments that I actually just like keep to myself, with me and really close people, with me and some loved ones. But then I also do have moments that I share. But I think that like having actual personal private moments that you're actually keeping for yourself is also a way to fill yourself back up and to fill your cup back up, because we're giving so much away all the time, and we don't always think about like social media as you're giving your energy away, but that can really be what it is. And I think like just like holding stuff in for yourself, not all of it, because I think happiness is definitely real when shared, but like just also just making sure your cup is full before you are giving back to social media, to society, to the collective.
Exactly, because I feel like this is one problem, I should say, that has happened with social media. I mean, it's been a while since we've had Facebook, we've had I think a couple of things before that, but it's like everything has become so constructed. If you see a picture on social media, or even someone's like story that disappears within like 24 hours, everything is so constructed. It's like, oh, is it the perfect lighting? Is it the perfect like whatever filter or like contrast, all those things? And it's like, instead of having that sort of rawness and realness, that essence of sharing, which I think was the intent when social media was first introduced. It was like to link people and to bring like real people in contact with each other. But like the more we went down the line, the more constructed it got, the more artificial it got. And I think that kind of creates a lot of problems, because you're looking at people's stories, and I think that instant comparison, this like reflex in your brain that's like switches up, because you're looking at stories, you're like, oh, where they live, it's quite pretty. I mean, my area is not as pretty. My like, oh, the cafe they went to is quite gorgeous. I don't really have such good places. Oh, they're having an event or whatever, and or they're having these big milestones in their lives, and you're like constantly weighing it out. And sometimes I notice myself when I'm on social media, and I'm like, wait a second, what am I doing? I've spent the last hour just scrolling through and even comparing myself to people that I have no clue who they are. They probably don't know that I exist, and I'm just constantly comparing, and I'm missing out so much of what is around me. I'm missing out. I have things that I'm grateful for here. Okay, it may not be the best of best. It doesn't have to be the best, but it just has to be enough to make you happy, and it does, and I feel fulfilled. So it's just like, unplugging for people who've not yet tried it before doesn't necessarily mean that you deactivate your social media account and you're like user not found. It does not have to be any of that. It can just be like putting away your phone for like even 3-4 hours if the whole day seems like too much for you, if you've not done that before. Just a couple of hours or a day or two, and just let that be, let that stay, let people post whatever it is. You live your life, and like Brett and Madeline said, if you find something that you're like, maybe I might want to share this later with the people on social media, with my followers, sure, take a picture. But if you feel like this one's just for me, just for my eyes, do that. Because I think live your life here as well and not just on social media, because I feel like half the population, they're living solely on social media, and gotta live here. Your physical body is here.
I agree. And I think like maybe just before we move on to the next point, a philosophical question that might be good for our audience to think about is the nature of social media itself, like, does it allow at all for living in the real? Because I know, Tazeen, you said like in the beginning, perhaps like it did a bit more, but did it really? Because when you get on there, it's like you are sharing a specific moment in your life. No one can ever see like all encompassing what's going on behind the scenes. And apart from that, like, how are we staying in tune with human nature and having face-to-face conversations with people? When have you spent an entire day with like no technology at all, right? I really wish that we could somehow get back to those times, but maybe that's when I make like my 70s like hippie colony out there or something like that.
Brett, you're on mute.
Thank you for that. I was just thinking about this movie called Ready Player One. And it's actually like this movie about when everyone is just tapped in, tuned into social media, almost like, like Avatar, like they put on these like glasses, like they're in it. And it just is really just like this kind of futuristic view of like what society can become if we're all just tapped into that. And, and then like some characters in the film were kind of just saying like, no, like I want to live in the real world. Like I want my real life. And to me, it's just like, yeah, as far as, I don't know, like just technology, it's so advanced. It's, meta is expanding. Everything is growing, moving by the day, by the hour, I feel like at this point. And so it is just important to like, find that gratitude in your actual life, not always like be plugged in to any system, because, social media is a system. All right. Now that I'm off mute, let's get to number 16. So 16 is sending loving energy to yourself multiple times a day. Is saying like, I love you, you insert your own name. Like I do this often. I just like say, I love you, Brett. Whether it's in my head or if I'm alone and I'm just like not looking crazy, I'll just be like, I love you, Brett, to myself. But I think that when you send love in different circumstances to people as they arise, it really can shift the energy of the situation, of the circumstance, and of the people. Like also if you're waiting in line or if you're in some crazy like, I don't know, crazy system situation, like you have to like get paperwork filed and you're like in some line, or getting your passport renewed and you don't know how long it's going to take or whatever, and you're waiting on whoever is working at the desk or something like that. I often send like loving energy to, the person who's working, whatever. I'll say I love you to the person in my head, that I'm working with, or maybe the person that's making my coffee at Starbucks, whatever it is. Like, but if you're doing that, you're kind of, you're fueling that person with love. You're filling that space with love. So I think that is a grounding practice for sure, for yourself and others. Anything else, guys, to add to that?
Because I mean, like a lot of times during the day, like you said, you just, just say it to yourself in your head, just, I love your bread or whatever. And it's just, that thing is so important, because oftentimes you find yourself just during the day, not even like consciously doing it, but like kind of nitpicking at your own either like habits or say appearance or work or whatever it is. And I find that I do that to myself a lot. And then it takes a long time for me to realize that, okay, I've spent the entire day just saying negative things on top of negative things about myself and my work and everything that I'm doing, even though I'm working really hard, even though, this is me. And even if I'm making mistakes, it is a part of me, and it doesn't mean that I have to hate myself for it. But it's just that breaking that cycle of thoughts of negativity.
That's what it does.
Exactly. That's a very good practice. And I think I should do it too, because you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, looking at your hair or looking at your face or like a pimple that came up, and it's just constant negativity. And I think that to break that, you need to have that or something else. Catch your thoughts. I think that's a habit you need to have. Like, that's what I'm doing actively now. Catch your thoughts, catch it. The moment, it's going away, just catch it and be like, you know what? I'm not doing this to you. Because think about it. You've grown to be this amazing, talented, beautiful woman, and once you were a little girl. And a lot of people, they talk about these things. Imagine you would say this to yourself, and your past self, this like 10-year-old or like 9-year-old Brett or Madeline or Tazine, is watching you be mean to yourself, basically to her. So like, would I look at myself and look at this little girl and be like, oh, I hate you, I hate your eyes, I hate your hair, I hate the way you color, you're not coloring in the lines, and I'm never going to say those things. So I think that part of the inner child work and a lot of those things that people do, I think all of that just collectively helps to love yourself more and accept yourself more, despite the things that you think are wrong within you, because they're not wrong. It's just you. That's it.
Right. And I love that you said that, because that's what it really is. It's almost like a mantra to silence negative thoughts. Like, if you're in a mental doubt loop, or maybe like a lack or limitation loop in your mind, just saying that you love yourself, and repeating it and learning to like keep saying that when these thoughts come up, really can silence them and really can like shift that negative momentum into a positive one. So that's why I think it's powerful. Well, right. Anything else, Madeline? Or 15?
I think we can focus on number 15. This is a fantastic point.
Okay, cool. Okay, so 15, focus on you, love yourself, love your work, focus on your work. I don't know, that's kind of self-explanatory, but So then we have 14, spend time with loved ones in healed, balanced, reciprocal relationships. And I think this is really important, because like, for so much of my life, and then I think just like different moments in my life, maybe like moments of change in my life, or leveling up leveling, whatever it is, I think that sometimes changes have to be made, and you have to make sure that you're observing relationships and the growth within your relationships, and asking like, are these relationships reciprocal? Like, are these relationships really feeding into me, and am I giving, am I giving what I am, receiving, and vice versa? Because I think that, while sometimes relationships can start out that way, as we grow and change and shift into like versions of our highest selves, like change in our self-love journeys, I think that our relationships with others can change too. And I just had like a crazy situation over these last few weeks, and I had to actually exit myself from like a really old friend group chat, because some like weird shady stuff was going on. And I think that that can just happen as we kind of level up, as we change, as we shift. And it's like, sometimes we can't take everybody on our journeys with us, and that's okay. Sometimes people can come, but I think that we have to give ourselves space to like really grow in our self-love, and really like be open to relationships that can like meet us where we're at, or maybe like even above that, kind of like people who are even more evolved than us, who can like pull us up and inspire us even more. So that's one that's definitely been on my mind this week. You guys have anything to add to 14?
I just kind of want to express a little moment of gratitude for my workplace right now. Yeah. Because Brett, you and I went to an all-girls high school, and I think that was such a good experience. But for the longest time after that, I think it was difficult to form really meaningful female relationships. Yeah. And in my workplace, I'm surrounded by young women who are like also in their 20s. We're kind of going through the same phase in life. And it is so positive. Like, it is just like, we're always like on each other's grind and like you look amazing, girl. You know, just positive energy and positive vibes. So sending gratitude to my girls out there if they're listening right now.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that's super important. I went to I think I don't know if I talked about it on this podcast, but I went to an event by Umber Khan, who does the Revolution Ramblings podcast, and she has a similar community of just like really open women, and it was just beautiful to see, and it made me feel so much better, like just to be in an environment where, you know, women are uplifting each other, where women are giving each other the space to speak, to be free, to have free thought. Yeah, so I think that that's really important along the journey. And yeah, just relationships with other women can be so grounding along the self-love journey. But it's, yeah, in this day and age, it's not very easy to find. So thank goodness for STUK Designs. All right, so then we have 13, which is crystals. And personally, this was one of mine because I have crystals literally everywhere around my space. They're like behind this little canvas thing right now. But they super ground me. And the event that I was just talking about that I went to, the women's event, she actually had these little crystal selenite hearts on everyone's seat, you know, before the event started. And so I think that like whether you are, you know, hosting an event and holding a space, whether you are holding your own space within like your room, holding a space within recording a podcast, I think that, you know, it's very protective to have crystals around. I think when you sleep, it's protective. I sleep with selenite under my pillow because it removes like blockages, and it's also protective. But, and then, you know, there's just various crystals that can help with various things. I like citrine a lot. Citrine helps with like abundance and prosperity, but you know, similar to just like saying that you love yourself, whatever, like crystals just really, you know, up level and protect the vibe and energy of the space. So that's just one I wanted to add. Do you guys have any comments about crystals, or all good? All right, cool. 12. Which is pretty general, and that is just music. Music is super grounding, super uplifting. It connects us to other people, but it also connects us to ourselves. So I would say like just when energies felt really off, really heavy, really dense, as it's felt in the last couple of weeks, as is felt, I think, just historically during just war times. But I think that like binaural beats, sound bowls, light language, Afro beats, which is like super uplifting, positive music, whatever it is that like, you know, kind of like uplift your vibe or energy, is super helpful. And then also dancing to that music, even if you can't go out with your girls, whatever, just making sure like, you know, get up and like turn on you know, that song that you've had in your head all week and just dance to it yourself if you can, because dancing is super healing and super grounding, and we forget that sometimes. So that is a very important one, I think. Yeah. And what are you guys listening to now? I think that's a good question.
Beyonce's Renaissance album, Chef's Kiss.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah,
I mean, Taylor Swift's new album came out, but I have not listened to it. Did anyone of you listen? I haven't yet. How is it?
So my gal pal that I work with, my work partner, she literally stayed up until like 3 a.m. when it came out, and we played it on loop the entire day. All I have to say is like, I'm not a diehard Swiftie fan, but she is, and I think that it's the lyrics of that album that stand. So definitely like listen. There's some deep lyrics.
I've honestly, I mean, I have never listened to Taylor Swift like that before, ever, but maybe I'll try, because I mean, it's not like I'm necessarily anti her, but I don't know, I've just never really delved into it.
Yeah, and I mean, some of her songs are like really like, you know, give you like this power, and they're like really powerful and upbeat, and you know, kind of like awaken something in you. And so it's like, it's good, like a battle cry, some of them, like Bad Blood, all those things, like classic Taylor Swift. And it's great. She's got more of that for us.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, maybe we'll have to add some to the STUK playlist because, I don't think she's on there. And then, I have been listening to MIA, actually. She came out with a new album called Mata, which means mother, and it is fire. Like, I love it. It's amazing.
We'll listen, definitely.
Yeah. And she's also a Cancer, like you've seen. So.
Ooh.
Okay, so next we have number 11, which is meditate before going online. Be here now, stay in the present moment as much as possible. And I'll just say, like, I think number 11 is just really just meditate in general. But I think when we can, I try to make it a practice. Most of the time, I'd say like 85% of the time I do it before I go online at all, or even pick up my phone. But it's just like a different vibe when you ground into yourself before doing anything, because they say that, like, the very first thing you do in the morning, like whatever that is, it's like your mind, your body kind of gets like attached to that thing for the rest of the day. So like if you're starting your day off with like, positivity, you're starting your day off like grounding and centering into you and going within, then like that's the vibe you're going to be on for the rest of the day. And like it'll be less, I think it's like less possible that you're kind of going to be shaken or pushed off your ground. Although like anything can happen when you have that centering, grounding of like that calmness, it's easier to jump into the chaos of the day or of the world right now. So.
Exactly. And even if something chaotic does happen, sometimes we are in situations where it just induces this like extreme high anxiety, and especially people who do live with anxiety disorders, or just people in general who are going through like difficult times or a sudden like things that happen out of nowhere. And the thing that I've found useful, like definitely meditating, of course, the beginning of the day or the end of the day, whatever your meditation practices are. But a lot of what we say as like, grounding techniques, one of the things that you can do while in public, it's obviously going to be difficult to close your eyes and, take deep breaths. And obviously, because then that makes it very obvious that you're doing something, especially if you are in like, exactly, people are weird. Yeah. So if you are in like public situations and things are going out of your hands and you feel like, the floor is like slipping beneath your feet, I think that you don't really have to close your eyes or anything, but start to take deep breaths. But as you take a deep breath, like this is what I do, take a deep breath and hold it, and while I hold it, you can say an affirmation, you could say anything. For me, I say a prayer, whatever religion you belong to, whatever your beliefs are, say a prayer there, and then release the breath, and then once again taking a deep breath, say a prayer, affirmation, whatever it is, and really just listen to you can say it in your heart, but you're listening to your heart, and you just listen to it, pay attention to it, and you can kind of feel that in your chest. And when you're breathing, no one's really going to notice that, because a lot of people have this fear of are people looking at me, or am I visible doing something very obvious. But these are things that are very like minimal, no one's going to notice you can just do it by yourself, and you can really bring yourself back into this situation and get through whatever it is that you have to do, and with a clear head.
I love that, because also, I'm from Oakland originally, and it's a different place, but I remember, and it's like just meditating is not necessarily like seen as weird here, where it is most other places, like even in California, and been like LA is different. But one day I was like walking and by the lake, and there's like a park spot, and then it's like the lake, and so one girl, she was just like walking, and then she goes like to the center of the grass and like literally just sits down and is just meditating, like in the center just by herself. And I was just
love that for her.
That's dope. Like she just is like, I need to ground,
I need a
minute. So she just plopped down. But sometimes it be like that, and you just need that grounding right there and right now. And in some societies and cultures, they don't have the same philosophy as STUK, which is do you, but yeah. All right. So Madeline had to step out real quick. But we're going to continue on with number 10, which is listen to a great podcast, like the Stuck on Self-Love podcast, like Sentinel Friday, and like No Filter.
Yes.
Shameless plugs. But,
Obviously.
there are many, many podcasts that you can listen to, and podcasts I feel like are just good for the soul. I think they're expansive for the soul. I think that they help aid in the self-love journey as well as like the consciousness and expansive journey, because they're really like an education tool. And I think that I feel like some of them are lessons to me that I've been listening to, and they're really like an investment in my growth. So I'm super thankful to just like podcasts in general, that a lot of new podcasts are on the rise. I think it's just like an easy way to take a course from people, honestly, with if you don't have a budget, if you're just kind of just curious about jumping into something, I think that they're a fantastic tool. So I'm kind of podcast obsessed, if you can't tell.
Exactly. And they're very like, you don't really have to have a commitment for it. Like you're on the way to work or on the way to school, you just, plug it in, you're listening while traveling or while doing chores at home. So yeah, you don't really have to like sit and, listen to it and leave everything. You can just do it while you're doing other things. So it's great. Exactly.
And, and if you are ready to share your voice, your own story, you can even start a podcast yourself, like on Anchor. We can drop the Anchor ad actually right here. That'd be lovely. Okay, and then we have number 9, which is do an activity that utilizes your hands. It'll take you out of your mind. It'll take you out of negative thought cycles. It'll take you out of like a resistant mode. I think whether you are coloring for a cause in your STUK coloring book, whether you are, painting yourself, whether you're drawing, sketching, taking maybe one of our Patreon drawing courses, whether you're cleaning, cooking, baking, whatever it is, gardening. I think that when you can like unplug, get maybe outside, do something with your hands, maybe take your art to the park and, paint and draw, or take your journal maybe to a park and a lovely bench under a tree with a beautiful breeze, sun shining. I think that when you can do activities like that really kind of utilize like touch and hands, it can get you out of your mind and into your body and ground you and center you in self-love.
Exactly, because that is like a physical act of like actually doing something, and it activates your senses. You're like picking things up with your hands, so you're feeling it, you're moving it, so your mind is like now communicating with your hands. So there's a lot of different things involved like that, a lot of senses involved. Now you're seeing the thing that you are creating, like baking, cooking, or painting, like you said, whatever it is. So a lot of your senses are now active, and you can really just pay attention while you're doing it. Like while you're, if you're sketching, you can pay attention to the sound of like the pencil and, the stroking against the paper, all of those things. So it really it can put you into a meditative trance. It can, be a release. It can be a distraction. You could even have like upbeat music. You could have a calm music, whatever it is that you want to do. It really just engages your mind and brings you out of that spiral of whatever it is that's going on in your life.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't really I can cook, but I don't really love it. But lately I have been baking when I've been feeling
I love
off.
baking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's fun because you can
it's so fun.
And then because the end result is just so delicious and
yes, and you're like, I did that, and you give it to people. Like that's my favorite part, like feeding people, and they're like, they like it, and I'm like, yeah, I made that. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even more fun if you play, upbeat music that you can dance to while you're baking, and then you can sit a little, and yeah, it's a whole experience. So I definitely recommend that. It's a great art break too, or writing break if you're writing or studying. It's a great thing to do to kind of just ground yourself. So bake away, people.
Bake.
So then 7, we have relax, because rest is productive, and that is an affirmation, you know? Like, I think that so much of our minds, so much of capitalistic society just tells us to keep going, and that like resting is lazy and that we shouldn't rest and all of this. But I know I will. But in the last like
society, what are you doing?
Right, exactly. And oh my God, in the past 2 weeks, I've just been really tired. And I've been in my mind being like, am I burnt out? Like, what is this? But no, it just, when I lean into it, I realize like, wow, you know what? My body just really needs rest. Like, I really just need to indulge in this rest for a second, because when you can let go and actually really just indulge in that rest and not feel ashamed for it, not feel guilty for it, not feel like you're, you know, slacking on responsibilities for resting, I think then you can like, you open up space like within that rest, and like it gives you more self-love, you're filling your own cup up, and then like when you emerge from that rest, it's like you have so much more energy, and then you can get right back to that aligned, inspired action because you surrendered to that rest that you needed.
Exactly. And it's like, if you don't pick a time to rest, then your body's going to pick it for you.
True. And
it's not really going to be the most convenient time for you. You could be in the middle of like a very busy week and you have to get things out. But because you've not planned it accordingly before, it's going to do it now. And now you just have like a ton of things to do and like people breathing down your neck. Or,
and then you're mad at your body.
So it's like, it's just inconvenient. So rest is very, very productive. And, you know, doing nothing is productive. You don't really have to constantly think of what to do next. Just give it a break. If you're just, you know, staring off into the abyss, do that. It's fine. There's no shame in that. You know?
Yeah, I was talking about that with Stacy on the Feminine Friday podcast like the other day, because I was just like, it's so weird. Society thinks that like, you know, if you go to a place and you're just like staring into the abyss, or if you're like, you know, like at a restaurant and you're by yourself and you're just like, oh, like, let me look at the scenery and stare into the abyss. I feel like people think you're nuts, but
if you don't have a phone in your hand and taking pictures, people are going to think you're nuts.
Right.
If you're just admiring it by yourself,
yes!
You're nuts.
Which is so strange, because that's actually sane. Like being able to be alone and be in that present moment and like observe your surroundings and be like here now is actually very healthy. But society often tells us that like things that are healthy are not, and people will definitely judge. But don't do you anyway. Don't listen to them. And if you want to take yourself, you know, to a solo date and just stare at the abyss, then do that. You know, if you want to be in your room and stare into the abyss, do that.
True. I mean, I was waiting for a friend the other day in like a cafe, and I was like, she was running a little late, and I was waiting, and I was like, oh, you know, this is pretty. Okay, I can look around for some time. And then I just started to feel so out of place. People I was like, okay, no, I think I need to get on my phone and pretend I'm either texting or scrolling, or else people are going to think that I'm crazy.
So strange. I actually have a side note with that, because society and the world have been changing, and I've also been wearing my like self-love first shirt. I wear it all the time, but like just when I'm wearing it and I'm going like running errands and whatever, I remember one day I was like, why is everyone staring at me? I was like, is it my hair? Is it like, are they racist? I don't know. But then I realized like, oh wait, I'm wearing my self-love first shirt, and like people kept staring at it, and I'm like, why are people so enthralled with this shirt? But I think that like as society is changing and shifting and moving, people are realizing like, you know, that self-love isn't just some like thing that everybody has, like some basic thing that everybody has, like duh, like it's just not. And then, you know, it's just like self-love first, it makes people think, because it's like people are just like, wait, what does that mean? And like, does that mean self-love first, like me putting myself first? Does it mean self-love first before everything else? And I really think it means, you know, self-love first and the rest will follow. Like love yourself first, which isn't some narcissistic thing. It's just really like loving that internal light within, loving that soul which you are, because when you love your own soul, then you can love all other souls, and like the light within you recognizes the light that is within others. But if you've never seen that before and you're first contemplating that, it's kind of a deep thing. It's very simple, 3 words, but it's a very deep thing. And people have been like looking at it differently these days.
The wheels are spinning.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Okay, so we have number 6, which is just really basic, and that is just read. Because reading is just grounding. It's ultimately, it really like can ground you in whatever moment that you're at, but it's also super expansive, and I think it's investing in yourself. So
Exactly.
we love to
always read. Yep.
Then we have fitness, which is, you know, I said like yoga, workout, dance. I mean, I'm super into yoga. I believe you are too, Tazeen. And then I know, but Madeline is more like workout. She loves the gym. She loves lifting.
Yeah, she goes to the gym.
But I think that, so it's really important, like, to do some kind of activity every day, which can even be just like a walk around your block, whatever you can do. But I think that if we are just getting active and moving our bodies, then we can get out of the mind, and that's really important during these times. And it's also important to find a fitness activity that really does work for you, that you really do love, because otherwise you're not going to commit to it and you're not going to want to do something every day. And for me, it's like some days when I don't feel like showing up to the mat, or like I'm not motivated to necessarily do yoga, I'll just go on a walk instead. And a walk is so clarifying. And you wouldn't think so. Even some days you're just like, I don't want to move, I don't want to do this, I don't want to get out. But once you walk, it like really can help clarify your mind, your brain, whatever it is. So
exactly, that's what I was gonna say. Like, people assume physical activity or like a workout or something to be some, you know, a massive part of your day, and you're hitting the gym or you're doing things like that, or you're like jogging and you're sweating and all of that. But it doesn't really have to be that. On a lot of days, it just has to be some sort of physical motion, some sort of physical activity, you know. Even if you are like saying, okay, I don't really have the energy for anything else, I don't want to go to the gym or do anything, but you know, my house is looking messy, I might as well just clean that up. So, you know, you're like cleaning the entire house. Physical activity, anything that is, you know, physically getting your hands and legs moving, it's great. And like you said, walks are one of my favorite things. Like, you know, if there's anything goes wrong, I'm like, you know what, I can just go take a walk. Just walk it out. And there is something about actually leaving your atmosphere, like your room, if you're in a room or if you're somewhere, leaving that space, even physically, going outside. And now when you're out, there are a lot of different things. Like when I was talking about like sketching, I was talking about senses. And I think one of the major things with walks is, again, the engagement of so many of your senses, because first of all, you're going out, it's probably going to be a different temperature than it was inside. So you have a temperature change that you can sense. You are looking at your surroundings. It's different outside. You're hearing things, if it's either like birds or even if it's the traffic or whatever it is. You're smelling something, probably flowers or leaves, or I don't know, even if there's just like smell of like gasoline in the air or whatever it is, it's just very different. You're hearing things, you're seeing things, and then you're moving your body. So it's like engaging so many of these things. It kind of helps you to escape your prison of a mind. And you know, and it could be a full workout for you, it could be yoga, it could be anything. It can look different for different people, so there's no shame in any of that, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there, you know, per se, who hit the gym or do things like that, and they have this, some of them have like a shaming attitude towards people who don't necessarily hit the gym or who don't necessarily work out every single day. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's good for you that you are doing 3 hours of workout every single day. Good for you. But it's not going to be possible for a lot of people. A lot of people probably live with chronic pain, or probably live with mental, just don't have time, or just don't feel like it, or don't like it, you know. So it's just, that's it. There's no need to shame. Everyone's life is different, choices are different, and you're doing what you like. You're not going to do something that you don't like to do, right? So I think that apply that mentality to other people as well, and be accepting of all forms of physical movement.
Because I don't even know how to hit the gym, so
we need to talk to Madeline. Bring Madeline back.
Exactly. And actually we have on our YouTube a fitness wellness section. One of our amazing donors, Allison, actually made some fitness videos, so you can check that out.
Check that out. She's amazing.
Yes. And Madeline actually has a short video on there as well to show like her gym stuff, what she does there, if you're interested. And then also on our website, we have a whole meditation section. So, you can get into fitness through our platform. You can get into meditation. We are a resource as well.
Yes.
So, number 4 is one that I put on because I'm really into CBD and plant healing. But so for me personally, I'm really into weed and CBD. Weed is legal in California. It's not maybe everywhere in the world, but in a lot of places it is. But also, like, if you're not necessarily a cannabis enthusiast, then we have, like, you can utilize lavender or mint or chamomile or ginger or turmeric. And other plants are so healing for your grounding, for your like ascension and self-love like process and journey, because like when you're feeling discomfort, there are, there's a herb for everything. Like there's you can use different plants to soothe what it is you're going through, especially like just with all of these planetary shifts and life changes and everything. My stomach has just been off a lot of the time. But ginger really, really helps me, and mint. So I often have like, where's my tea? Here, literally
Here it is.
drinking my ginger tea right now. So I think that, sometimes we discount how powerful plant healing can be. And I mean, but it comes from the earth. And I think that we're, as a society, we're just like so plugged in, so into like moving everywhere, driving everywhere, doing everything externally, that we just forget about like the earth and just how powerful the earth is as a healing tool. So that's what I wanted to bring to that. Do you have anything else? I know you love tea.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, like, I think teas are a big part of my life. Like the people around me, they know that I'm absolutely like into tea and everything. And especially chamomile, like you mentioned chamomile, that is like one of the things, even if it's not necessarily going to be like, okay, you drink a cup of chamomile and you're off to bed and you're just asleep. It's not necessarily going to be like that, but it does have a calming effect. It does have a very sweet scent. It does have a very sweet taste. So even if you
I love it.
take it before bed, because I would do that sometimes and just have a cup of chamomile tea before bed, it really just, and I would do nothing else. And no phone, no anything, just sit with my cup of tea, smell it. Yeah, exactly. Just smell it and just, enjoy the taste and drink it and just absorb that moment, and kind of like really helps to bring me back to my, to myself, and just unwind, basically take the day off, what I mean, in a sense. So that helps. A lot of different teas out there, a lot of essential oils. People I know spray lavender on their pillows sometimes to help them fall asleep. Yes, exactly. So there's a lot of things you can experiment with. Go out there, see what you like, see what works for you.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about different herbs that like work for different things, or teas that work with different things, message us. Let us know, and we got you. I will also say that mugwort is definitely helpful for sleep, chamomile. And it also helps with like dreams, and like if you're having trouble dreaming, or like want to just figure some stuff out in your dreams.
You have some issues.
Yeah, exactly. Mugwort will get you there. But teas are great. Number 3, we have something very close to our heart, and just like the backbone of who we are as a nonprofit, which is like giving back and volunteering. I just think like that giving back time is a way to connect with others on the most basic level, which is like that generous, compassionate, basic level, that we have as humans, but often forget because so much other stuff covers that up. And I think that when we're volunteering, it's a way on a very authentic level to connect with other beautiful souls out there on the planet. And it's also like a way to directly impact and have a direct impact on change that is happening. Whether it is volunteering for like a nonprofit like us, whether it's like going to a soup kitchen and like serving, whether it's, donating, giving your clothes, whatever it is. Like, I think that aiding in the positive progression of like humanity is so helpful. And we as a nonprofit offer various ways that you can help give back to our STUK girls who do need a lot of support and do need so many art resources that, you know, society, the system isn't able to provide them with. So whatever is your passion, I think that it's important to kind of like research, to delve into that, and then just like giving back no matter what you're doing, no matter how much money you have or don't have. I think that like abundantly giving is vibrantly living, and the more that you give, you ultimately receive. But a lot of people are unaware of that cycle because they're in a lack cycle, a limitation cycle of like, oh well, if I give this, I'll have less. But really, when you give, you ultimately have more. So
yeah, I mean, you're inviting abundance. The more you give, the more abundance you do invite. And like Brett said, it doesn't really, you know, you could have, if you have money to spare, if you have clothes to spare, you have supplies, resources, go ahead and give that. If monetary aid is not something that is for you, if that's not something that you can do, then like she mentioned, there's a lot of volunteering options that do not involve that. You know, time, give time. If you can't give money, give time. Help out at an old age home, help out at everyone. Yeah, just, and not necessarily, it doesn't have to be, if you live in a place where you don't really have access to a lot of nonprofit organizations or any other places where they accept volunteers, then just, there are many other ways to help out a neighbor, help out anyone that you see that is, you know, struggling, in need. It could even be a friend, could be anyone. Just bettering, basically volunteering and giving out, what we talk about is making someone's life better in any way possible, whether it is in terms of, you know, like what we do, right, you know, helping them with art supplies, helping them with daily life supplies. It could be that, it could be in terms of making someone feel better, doing tasks for people, completing tasks for people. So there's like a list of things that you can do, and it is very, very fulfilling. That's one thing for sure that is going to help you if you feel like your life is a little flat, because sometimes it does feel like that, like it feels like there's no dimension to your life.
Yeah,
I think when you do try to like take steps to do something good for people, you will begin to feel, okay, this is another feeling, this is another emotion that I'm feeling, that is fulfillment. That is,
gosh, it feels so good. I love giving. Like it just
and that's true. That's
it's
just
such a high.
Another dimension. Yep, another high. So yeah, definitely that is something that we're really big on, and we talk about that to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think like authentic giving also, it gets your mind out of like any kind of like just these lack cycles of like there's not enough, you know, because it's like there is always enough, but it's like when we believe that, and when we believe that like we have the ability to give, then we can also believe that we have the ability to receive more. And it's just a cycle, and it's a beautiful cycle. So I inspire you guys all to just give back in some way, big or small. And we all have a part in this struggle. We all have a part to play, like in the revolution that is this, you know, self-love journey. And I think that like, even if it's just like maybe your place is not, you know, physically volunteering as Tazeen said, but you can like you can share posts, you can like you can write things to support people. You can start campaigns for people, which actually we've had done for us before, you know. There's so many ways that you can get creative with like giving back and with like serving humanity, because humanity needs service more than anything right now. You know, humanity needs support. We even as a nonprofit, you know, always need support. I think like that the more that we can support each other, you know, the more that we elevate as a collective, but then we also elevate like individually, because it's just a good feeling. So yeah, give back. All right, so we only have two more. And number two is, we kind of talked about this, but I mean, since we're both obsessed with it, I'm just going to go in a little bit more. But we basically talked about walking, but this is basically like take meditative walks in nature to remind yourself really where who you are and where you're coming from, and to go to the park and to ground yourself. And grounding is actually like a practice. I mean, I guess you could say it's a practice in like the spiritual community, but I think it's just like a general practice that you can do to really center yourself. And it's just taking your shoes and socks off when you're at a park or around grass or like dirt, because when your feet, the soles of your feet are on the ground, it's like you're so in touch and tapped in and in tune with the earth. And so, I recommend that I go to the park with my dog often, and I take off my shoes and socks, and then it's a whole other experience if you're like laying on the grass, you look up at the clouds, and it's just, you forget, we forget to do these simple things, but like they're so powerful. And like, if I just take a break and do that, and like, when I think I'm feeling stressed, I think I'm feeling like there's 500 things I have to do, 500 tabs open in my brain. If I can just take time to do that, go to the park, take off my shoes and socks, ground, lay down, look at the sky, hear the birds chirping, it's just like my mind shifts. It's a state change. It's an energy shift. It's an elevating practice. So, and then breathe, breathing while you're doing all that too is obviously very important. But yeah. Okay. Then I guess, are we at number 1?
Yes, we are.
I think we are. Okay, so try not to make any big, huge changes or jump into anything new all at once. Stay calm. Yes. Calmness is a superpower. So I think that, it's just so important change is obviously very important. Transformation is so important. The self-love journey is so important. But often we get into this like mindset of instant gratification, and we think like, all right, I'm going to start this and like, I'll master this tomorrow. It'll be good. Or, I'll master this week and it'll be great. And I often get ahead of myself in like the quickness in which I can just get things done, handle things, whatever, because in my mind I'm like, that's and it can, but I think we have to give ourselves grace with and patience with the journey, because a lot of the journey is on divine time and not capitalistic based, system based, matrix based time. And to really tune in, to ground in, to love yourself is really going within versus going, just relying on that external time narrative or that external capitalist timeline. And I think that when we can really stay calm within ourselves, do all of these 17, kind of grounding practices, then we're not so pressured to make these I have to make this change tomorrow, or everything is, or everything is going to fall apart, or I have to do this, or, or I'm never gonna get there. I think we have to give ourselves grace and realize that all of this is a process. All of these things take time. Meditating took me years to master. I started with 3 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, growing practice. It's a growing thing, all of these things, and you have to just kind of incorporate each one by one, little by little, and once you master one thing, kind of delve in and expand to the next. But it's not this is not just a easy quick step for mastering grounding. It's definitely a life practice. So I think that's
exactly.
kind of.
I mean, if you do want something to sustain, if you want sustainable habits, and those come with patience and those come with time, and if you're just gonna jump into things and want results as soon as possible, then those things might sometimes work for you, but they might last for a very short period of time, because then eventually you're gonna not be able to keep up the pace that you had started with. Right. And I think, like you said, changes are important, but the transitions are equally important. To transition yourself from your present space to a change, like we said, we're talking about self-love, we're talking about taking walks, we're talking about all these things. It doesn't mean that necessarily that you after this episode is done, you get up and you just take a 30-minute walk and you've never taken walks before, or anything of that sort. You don't really have to do that. You can just ease yourself into things, or if you want to learn a new skill, give yourself that acceptance. It's okay for me to slip up. If it's okay, for me to make any mistakes. I know that I'm doing this now because this is a learning phase. This is a period of transition. So in your periods of transition, allow yourself that space to make mistakes or to lag or to even go back to square one, because at the end of the day, you are going to keep making progress, even if you feel like you don't. So just keep it gradual. Do as much as your body is allowing you to, and don't push. A lot of people sometimes when they start to work out at the gym, they'll go and they'll instantly start, hitting weights and hitting machines that they've never done before, they've never tried before. You don't have to do that. If you're doing workout, you're doing yoga, type yoga for beginners, and take very simple poses. You don't have to go to the extremes. If you're learning dance, take a very simple dance. Anything that you're doing, if you're writing or if you're working on projects, like we often do things over here, we take it one at a time. Like Brett said, it does happen that when we're doing a task, we're like, okay, I can finish this. I'm going to get to this. I'm going to get to the end and it's going to be perfect and everything. Yeah. But you realize in the middle of it that I'm stressing myself out.
Yeah.
And if I'm stressing myself out, I'm not going to be able to think clearly. If I'm not thinking clearly, this is not going to be my best work. If I want my best work, I need to invest time in it. So think of time as an investment and don't necessarily jump into things. Unless obviously you have the ability to, then go for it. But if not, it's okay if you take time to do things.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head right there. I think that it's just, we put too much pressure on ourselves a lot of time. And this, even just listening to this, even if you have not done any of these 17 things ever in your life, just the fact that you are right here, right now, listening to this, will aid in your expansion process and will lead you, to ultimately trying one of these 17 things. Because it just cannot. Conversations like these, opening, expansive, conscious conversations like these, can't not help it inspire change, So I think that even when you listen to things like you're expanding, you're growing right now, you're changing right now, you're aiding in your self-love journey and your self-love process right here, right now. So, we inspire you guys to try, anything on this list that really calls to you, and we hope that it will provide you just some grounding, some inner peace, and most importantly that inner love right now, because we think that just, oh my gosh, so many people are just confused, are dealing with depression and anxiety, and just don't know, which way is up or which way to go. And so, we over here always inspire you to firstly just go within. When you are confused, when you're that confused, and tap within yourself, because you ultimately do have all the answers within you. Ultimately, you have all the grounding and all the peace and all the sanity that you need within here. But a lot of times you got to just tune out the external crazy world, all the chaos that is happening, and really remember to come home to yourself. Because it's just so important during these times. And I think the only reason that we've been able to really, sustain as a team, to keep going, keep pushing, to keep our self-love elevated, in order to exude it to everyone else, is grounding. We've had to individually learn how to master these things. And that's how this list came about, and took us a while to get to this episode, because we all had to do it, on our own, and to really figure these things out on our own. And so we really wanted to bring you guys this episode as a resource, as a tool. You can listen back to it and hone in on these tips. And as always, just want you to keep growing, keep expanding, keep loving yourself, keep giving back.
Exactly. And to end that, just at the end of the day, listen to what your body needs. There are things on the list. There are probably things on the list that are not on the list, but things that you want to do. So just listen to what your body wants. If your body wants to take a nap, you take a nap. If your body wants to eat a snack, healthy, not healthy, you take that snack. Whatever it is that you need to do, just listen and respect that. Once you do start to listen and respect that, you will begin to feel that your body is complying with you more, because now you're listening to its needs. If you keep on ignoring it, obviously there's going to be that tension within yourself. So basically, to get rid of that, listen, honor your needs, whatever it is, mental, physical, and give yourself that. Allow yourself time and grace, and you're gonna get there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a great a great bonus point, because that also touched upon like eating healthy, and just make sure you're just eating fruit and being healthy. But have cheat days. Eat that ice cream if you want to let yourself up.
Oh, I love ice cream.
I went on a walk to get myself ice cream.
Yes, love that.
And I loved it because ice cream makes me happy.
Yes.
So do you love yourself first? You are powerful. You are expansive. You are limitless. You are so loved. And we are so thankful that you tapped in, tuned in, and listened to us as a team today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here, and thank you for existing, because your mere existence is enough.
Yes, your mere existence is a miracle, and we love you. Have a great day.
Hey beautiful people, we at STUK Designs have begun our crowdfunding campaign with iFund Women supported by Caress. We are raising money for expanding our programs, manufacturing art kits, setting up our studio that will be a space to empower women and girls through art and self-love, and a lot of other work that we have planned. We would love your help in our mission to provide girls in underserved communities art education and help them recognize and utilize the power of self-love. Visit our website www.stukdesigns.org for a link to our campaign. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. You can visit our website www.stukdesigns.org to shop our merch, make donations, join our blogging team, or be a part of our affiliate program. See you in our next episode. Love and light from us to you.